Welcome to Eclectic Selections, the human music recommendation service. My name is Liam Flanagan, and I'll be your musical guide recommending you the best in music, wherever and whenever it came from. You're currently watching our Eclectic Extra series, where once a month I'm going to be discussing a music recommendation as a bonus for all of our followers across the internet. So now it's time to go over to either my past or my future self and see what recommendation I have for us. On today's Eclectic Extra, we will be talking about a famous television soundtrack. Now, this television soundtrack has been talked about a few times in the past, and it's very well known. But I felt like after everything me and Ben Fulkerman had talked about in the last 3 weeks on this channel, it felt appropriate because we actually talked about the man who composed this soundtrack, and we talked about blaxploitation soundtracks. So we talked about Andy Bedale. This is not the name that he wrote this soundtrack under. He wrote it under his real name. But for whatever reason, back in the day, he used a pseudonym. Get back to the soundtrack itself. It is Twin Peaks, Season 1, the original season of Twin Peaks soundtrack by Angelo Badalamenti. Now, it's very nice on the outside. It's a nice, simple design. And then when you open it up, I'm not going to show you everything yet. We'll get to the record itself, but it's really nice still from the show. It's where they find Laura Palmer in the show. It's very appropriate for the sound of the music and its iconic part of the TV show. So, before we get to the soundtrack itself, before we get to talking about what the TV show was about, we're going to talk a little bit about Angelo himself, Angelo Badalamenti. He's widely known for his long-standing collaboration with film and television director David Lynch, and they have produced a creative and inspired body of work together. In addition to working on a lot of different film scores, he has written the Twin Peaks theme and also Inside the Actors Studio theme and the Flaming Arrow, which was the theme to the Barcelona Summer Olympics. He has collaborated with the likes of Dave Bowie, Pet Shop Boys, Tim Booth from James, Michael Jackson, Nancy Wilson, Marianne Faithfull, Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries, Liza Minnelli, Roberta Flack, and many others as a songwriter. He was born in Brooklyn, New York City. This is where he studied composition, French horn, and piano, both at the Eastman School and the Manhattan School of Music. He got his master's at the Manhattan School of Music, and after completing that, he taught music for 5 years. It was in the early 70s that he would start to work on film soundtracks such as Gordon's War, which me and Ben discuss in episode 2 of his interview. I will put up part 2 of his interview link up there, so you guys can go check that out. But he also did a film called Law and Disorder early on as well. It was in 1980. Hang on. It was then in 1986 that he was hired by David Lynch to be Isabella Rossellini's vocal coach. So he was just supposed to teach Isabella Rossellini to sing on the soundtrack to Blue Velvet. But he ended up writing the score for the film, writing some of the songs that were featured in the film, including Mysteries of Love, which he wrote with David Lynch for Julie Cruz, who's going to be a crucial part of the story as we go on. And he even appears in a scene playing a piano in a bar. This was the springboard for him to form this close relationship with David Lynch and for them to go on to work on many, many projects together afterwards. He's also worked with other preeminent directors, including Jean-Pierre Jeunet and Danny Boyle. He has received Grammy Awards for his work on Twin Peaks. The soundtrack album to Twin Peaks has gone gold in 25 different countries, and he received an Independent Spirit and Satin Award for his soundtrack work on Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. He had 3 Emmy nominations for Twin Peaks, and in 2011 he won the Henry Mancini Lifetime Achievement Award at the ASCAP Film and Television Awards. So he is a well-decorated, well-recognized film and television composer. So now let's move on to talk a little bit about Twin Peaks, the show itself. What is it all about for those who maybe haven't watched it yet? So the story begins with the murder of homecoming queen Laura Palmer near the town of Twin Peaks, which is a town on the US-Canada border. And everyone is very surprised and devastated by Laura's death. It's a mystery as to why this has happened. The town's sheriff ends up welcoming the help of the idiosyncratic FBI agent Dale Cooper, who has been dispatched to investigate. As Cooper begins the search for Laura's killer, he slowly but surely discovers the town's secret, seedy underbelly and discovers it's not your average quiet town. It's as if everybody has something big to hide. There is something out of the ordinary about Twin Peaks, and it's up to Cooper to figure out what. Hopefully that whetted your appetite to go off and watch Twin Peaks. So what does the soundtrack sound like? Well, it is a great question. In some ways, it's not an easy one to answer because it doesn't fit neatly into necessarily one genre, but it has a jazzy, loungy elements, and it definitely moves at a very leisurely pace. But this isn't background music. You're not going to fall asleep listening to it if you put it on separately. There is a gauzy atmosphere to it. There's definitely a feel to it, and there's a creepy tone to Twin Peaks, which just helps to add to that feeling that we're talking about. There's something off here about this town. There's something seedy. There's something creepy. Badalamenti, he wrote the lyrics for some of the songs in the show, including Falling by Julie Cruz, and it famously features in the first episode. The ethereal sound of the soundtrack has been compared to dream pop and shoegaze, and I can see that parallel because of the time that the show came out, but also there's a heavy use of reverb to create atmosphere and a sense of space. So while there's not like a direct link, I can see where people are coming from. I've also heard more recently about people thinking this soundtrack is a precursor to dark ambient music, which is a more sort of recent development, say maybe the last 20, 25 years. There's been a darker side to ambient music that has evolved as a subgenre. So people like Biosphere and Harold Budd, I think, would be good early examples of that style. But you could talk about people like the Black Dog as well as being another, that they developed their own sort of dark ambient style. And there are many others too. The Julie Cruz songs on the soundtrack throw back to 1950s torch songs, but they have this ethereal feel, which is associated with David Lynch's work. There's a lot of association between Julie Cruz's music and David Lynch and Angelo Badalamenti, because they worked together on Blue Velvet, they worked together on Twin Peaks, and in between times, Angelo and David Lynch wrote music and lyrics for Julie Cruz's debut album. Badalamenti has been asked what the first 3 notes of the main theme to Twin Peaks are, because they sound unnaturally low. And most of the soundtrack was written on a keyboard. People used to ask him about this, and he explained it's a sample of rock and roll guitarist Eddie Dwayne. Eddie Dwayne is famous for his twangy guitar style. So he used what was very simple sampling technology back then to map it across his keyboard, and it meant he could play it a whole octave lower. And then he layered up another layer of down-tuned guitar. So you're hearing 2 layers of guitar that are both either detuned or have been synthetically pushed down an octave. So that's why you've got this really deep and slightly off guitar sound going on there. One of the striking things about this soundtrack is how consistent it is. While there's a flexibility there in what you can hear, it very much has its own feel and everything. Badalamenti is able to use the same instruments, but in different combinations and with different parts in order to help evoke different emotions and different scenes. He recorded everything with the same instruments, and then he was able just to pick and choose what he wanted for each cue in the soundtrack. So he's thinking ahead a little bit of, how am I going to do this? How can I make it like this seamless thing? And he really pulls it off with aplomb. Like you notice the soundtrack in the sense that it has its distinct sound. You do not notice it in the way that a film and TV soundtrack should not be distracting. It's very important skill to be able to pull off, and he pulls it off with aplomb on this soundtrack. So just to finish off the video, let's take a look at the vinyl and the inner sleeve. So I'll take a look at the outer sleeve quickly again. So there you go. A nice bright white outer sleeve, and then we have to pull out the inner sleeve, which we've seen the front of it. That's the waves, and then on the back you can see that's a still from the camcorder recording, that VHS recording that's referenced throughout the series, with the track listing on there. And then on the inside we have a picture of Angelo Badalamenti, and he's talking about, there's the lyrics, there's credits for all the instruments that were played and who played them, and then he does a brief with a liner notes here talking about the soundtrack. And then we have the thing that tops it all off. This really does top it all off. This is a beautiful piece of marbled vinyl, and it is deliberately this color. Now, fans of Twin Peaks will know why it's this color. Agent Dale Cooper is a huge fan of coffee. He likes damn fine coffee. And that's what he gets in Twin Peaks. He gets some damn fine coffee. So it is damn fine coffee colored vinyl. And this is a very special edition by Death Waltz Records. They have put together a number of fantastic soundtracks over the years, and this is one of their crowning achievements. You could also get the Firewalk With Me soundtrack, and that is on cherry pie colored vinyl, which is another reference to something that Dale is a big fan of in the show. And I think that's a wonderful place to end the video there, because how am I going to top that? It's some damn fine coffee colored vinyl. Thank you all for watching this video. If you want to support Eclectic Selections and join our community, there are various ways that you can do that. Number one, you can like, comment, and subscribe right here on YouTube. This helps our video get noticed by the YouTube algorithm, and it helps other music lovers like you find great music. You can, two, follow us over on Twitter. Here you'll get the latest news, and you'll get extra recommendations. You'll be able to keep up to date with everything Eclectic Selections. You can join our Ko-fi. This is just like Patreon, so you can support us, and you'll get access to extra content like private playlists, extra video recommendations from our guests, and there's more coming in the future. Join our Discord community where you can chat with other music lovers and myself about music and other subjects too. All the links for all of that down in the description in our link tree. Thanks again for watching, and until next Thursday, keep it eclectic.